Probably the least Tennessee fan in the room, all right? So, I was born and raised in L.A. Does anybody know where L.A. is? All right, that's what we call Lower Alabama, all right? So, I'm a big Alabama fan, and I was there for the Vanderbilt game and the Tennessee game this year. So I got to see two fields get stormed and goalposts get ripped down. So it's been an adventurous year for me, and I took my son, who's with me, my 7-year-old. He's back in the kids right now, but I took him to his first game. It was the Vanderbilt game, and they're ripping the goalpost down, and he's yelling, "Roll Tide, Roll Tide," you know. And I said, "Hey, man," I was like, "They lost," and he said, "Why?" I said, "That's a good question, you know." So anyway, I appreciate the intro today, and I know Pastor Nick and Miss Kim are watching, and he's probably laughing right now. But do you love your pastor this morning? Come on, give him a hand clap. And I love Pastor Nick and Miss Kim, and you know, if I had to sum them up with one word, here's what I would sum them up with: the word quality. They are good quality people, and they're the kind of pastor you want because they care. And you know, if you look at the serving boys, they all love the Lord and they're all serving the Lord today, and that's a reflection of a good father and a good mother. And so I want you just don't have a pastor. You've got an incredible father and mother who are leading you every week. And I know y'all been celebrating them, you know, this past month and I guess the last couple of weeks. But when they get back, it should be a weekly thing. You know, they check on you, check on them. Tell them how much they're appreciated and loved. Because I believe you wouldn't be here if you didn't think that. And so I love your pastor today, and I honor them. And Miss Kim actually decorated my office. I called her when I took the office, and I said, "Can you come up here and decorate my office?" And she said, "Sure," you know. And she come up there, and I'm telling you, I've got the best looking office in the building, all right. And I'm just going to tell you, I thought about putting a little name plaque up there that said like the Kim Servin Family Life Center outside of my office, but I hadn't done that. But anyway, I'm glad to be at Franklin this morning. It was a short drive for me from Hendersonville this morning. 39-minute drive for me this morning. And I got an extra hour of sleep, all right? So I'm feeling fresh, and I'll probably say some things I shouldn't this morning, so y'all can just enjoy it, laugh, and look forward to your pastor being back next week, all right? So my wife, Brittany, couldn't be with me today. She's helping lead worship up the road in Nashville this morning, and so she's walking in her purpose and her calling this morning. And some of you may know my wife. I outkick my coverage with my wife, all right? I'm married up, you know, and that's kind of the idea, you know. You don't wake up one day and say, "I want to marry somebody ugly," you know. That's not what you do. So I married somebody that looked a lot better than I did, and it's helped me a lot, all right? And so I've got two beautiful little boys. I've got a 7-year-old named Griffin, who's back there. He's in first grade, and I love that little boy, and he's got to go with me a lot here lately. And then I've got a 2-year-old named Reeves. Reeves, if I could sum him up, I should have sent a picture. He's chubby. He's got a little dimple in his chin. And when you squeeze him, he smells like a honey bun. You know what I'm talking about? How many of you like a honey bun in here? Don't you get shy on me in Franklin this morning, all right? Y'all still eat honey buns down here, don't you? I'm built by Honey Bun. I'm just letting y'all know that. So I love those little boys. And I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't give them up for anything in this world. When I had those two little boys, I really found out what it was, what the Father's love was like. If you don't hear me say anything else today, can I tell you this? You were worth the life of His Son. That's what He thought of you. And we get in a habit in church a lot of times of saying things like, "Oh, I wasn't worth it. I wasn't worthy of it." And I get that talk. I mean, I get it. You know, I get what you're trying to say. And can I tell you, if you open up this word and read it, that's not the God that I found. That He thought your life was very much worth it, or He wouldn't have sent His Son. You were worth the life of His Son. And so I don't know what you've come in here with today, but somebody needs to hear this. You have no clue how valuable you are. You have no clue how important you are. And I know we got a big week with elections and everything coming up. Can I tell you, all we can do is do our part. That's all we can do. If we'll do what we're supposed to do, if we'll do our part, let me tell you something, the lost will be found. There's hope today, and his name's Jesus. And you bring him joy. He loves you today. He's crazy about you today. I'll never forget back in 2020 when the world was going crazy and the pandemic was in full swing. I'll never forget, they were telling us to stay home, and so we were staying home quite a bit. And I'm not really a homebody. I don't really like to stay home for long amounts of time. I like to go. I like to get out and go, but I have a part to play at my house, all right? And so for you men in the room, if you don't know your part, don't worry. Your wife's going to tell you what your part is, all right? One of the parts that I play at my house is I'm supposed to take the trash out. How many of you are in charge of the trash at your house? Now, I know we ain't got anybody in here like this, but let me tell you what I do, all right? I'll go to the trash can and throw something away, and if it's full, here's what I'll do. I'll press it down a little bit. How many know what I'm talking about? Huh? And I'll do that over and over again, all right? And I'll press it down so much you can't even get the thing out of the can. How many know what I'm saying? And then it takes two people to get it, right? And you're in there and one's pushing and pulling, and you're trying to get it out. By the time you get it out, you've done ripped the bag. Trash has done gone everywhere. You done created a mess, This is what will happen at my house. My wife's not here, so I can say this. This will be good. Esther, don't tell her I said this, all right? If I don't get to that trash in time, Brittany will go and she will get the trash out without ripping the bag. I think she's a magician, She'll get it tied up, This is what she does. She opens the garage door and she sits it out there on the steps. And she's telling me two things. One, you're slipping on your part, all right? You're not doing your job. Another thing she's saying is, I hope you trip and break your neck. That's the other thing she's saying, right? She's letting me know, I have a part to play. At my house, I cut the grass. How many of you cut the grass at your house? I love to cut the grass. I love to mow. I love to edge and weed eat. I love to do all those things. I worked for a lawn care company when I was in high school, and so I like doing yard work. But I don't like doing flower bed work. And how many of you know there's a difference? All right. I think it's something about squatting. I don't have the body type to squat. If I squat this down, I might not get it back up. You know what I'm saying, right? And so I'm out there, though. I'm having to do the flower bed work, and it's a hot day, and I've got the hedges trimmed, and I got everything cleaned up, and I got it looking good, and I step back, and I admire my work, and I think, man, that looks good right there, And then all that ends because all of a sudden I hear my wife run through the garage on this hot day during the pandemic, and this is what she says. She says, oh, my gosh, Brooks, is Griffin out here with you? How many of you know where I'm going with this? I said, no, he's not out here with me. She said, he didn't come out here and talk to you or anything? I said, no, at this point he's like 2.5, going on 3 years of age, and I said, no, he's not out here with me. And she said, oh my gosh, she said, Brooks, he was trying to open doors. And he was at this point in his life where he was trying to open doors he shouldn't. And so he's playing around the door, and he's trying to open them, and she's having to pull them off the door, and she's doing that over and over again. And then all of a sudden her phone rings, and it was an important call, and she had to get it, and she gets on the phone, and by the time she gets done, she looks out, the door's cracked open, and he's not anywhere to be found in the house. He was running. He was lost. And I'll never forget this. As she told me that, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure out where he's at. And all of a sudden, I thought about it. At the time, we lived in a house that was kind of out by a main road, and people had actually been killed out there in car accidents and stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, it wouldn't take anything for him just to take a right and a left and to get out there to that main road. And if he gets out there, he's going to get ran over, he's going to get killed. And you know what I did as his father in that moment? I began to run looking for him. How many of you know he's looking for the lost today? He's running after him. I began to run through the neighborhood. I began to call his name. Griffin, Griffin, Griffin. I'm shouting it as loud as I can. Maybe he'll hear my voice, And then all of a sudden it happened. I went around the cul-de-sac, and there's a girl that lived down there in the cul-de-sac, and she was out doing her part in the neighborhood. And I'm just going to try to explain the kind of person she is. She was what we know as the neighborhood Karen. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? And if your name's Karen, I'm sorry they've come up with this terminology for your name, all right? She was the neighborhood busybody, and I hope we ain't got anybody in here like that. I always want to know when you're going to pay your HOA dues. It got quiet in here. Pastor Nick will be back next week, all right? Always on the Facebook page, stirring it up. I hope we ain't got nobody in here like that. She says, Brooks. I said, yeah. She goes, are you looking for your kid? I can't stand it when people say that. I'm looking for my son, yes. I said, you see him? Yeah. You didn't catch him, you know? No, he was too quick for me. I said, where'd he go? And she points out to the main road. I thought, oh. I began to take off a little faster, right? I'm running, I'm hollering his name, and I turn the corner to go out towards that main road, and then all of a sudden, I see it. Another person in the neighborhood doing their part. The walker. How many know what I'm talking about? Always out walking. No matter what time of day it is. They're taking laps, you know. And this lady's out there walking, and I see her, and all of a sudden it catches my eye because I see two little legs kicking out from her side. And I recognize them little white legs anywhere, you know. And she said, Brooks, isn't this your son? Yeah. She said, I got him right before he crossed the main road. Let me tell you what I did in that moment. She put him down, and here's what happened. He saw me. And when he saw me, here's what he did. He began to run to me. And here's what I did as his father. I began to run to him until all of a sudden we collided. And here's what happened in the moment when I found him. Can I tell you something? I wasn't worried about disciplining him. I wasn't worried about correcting him and going through all that. The correction and the discipline and all that stuff, you know what? We could work on all that stuff later, right? Here's what I did in the moment when I found him. I began to hug him, and I began to kiss his face, and I began to tell him how valuable he was to me. I began to tell him how important he was to me. I said, you have no clue how valuable you are. You got to stay with me. He had no clue how much joy he brought my life. Luke 19:10, if you got it. And Psalms 18:16 through 19, if you got it. I want to ask you a question today. Do you remember where you were at when he found you? Do you remember where you were at when he found you? That's what I want to ask you today. If you're wondering why he came today, I'm going to tell you, Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man, he came to seek and to save the lost. He came to seek and to save the lost. And Psalm 18:16 through 19 says, he reached down from on high, and he took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster. I love this part. But the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. You see the theme I'm trying to bring to you this morning? He delights in you. He delights in you. Because he knows the value of what he has. You have no clue the purpose and destiny he has written for your life. You say, how do I get there? You get up every day and you do your part. You get up every day and you fall in love with him all over again. You get up every day and you make the right decision. You know him in every decision that you make. And if you do that, you'll get from here to there and to there. You know what? In full life, we'll get from here to there. If everybody does their part, yes, you have a pastor, but you're sitting in that chair because you have a part to play in this thing. Can I tell you today that the Father wants to take you to another level today? He wants to take you to new ground, to a greater height today. You say, how do I get there? You do your part. I'll never forget, me and Brittany, we were youth pastoring in Hendersonville, and we didn't have kids at this point. And I came out of the fellowship hall where we were meeting and doing our youth. And I'll never forget, I walked out there, and I saw the little coffee area, and there was a little sign-up sheet. We love a sign-up sheet in church, you know. And I'll never forget the header on the sign-up sheet. It said, whitewater rafting trip. It caught my eye, you know. I thought, well, I need to go over and check this out. And it said, whitewater rafting trip. And then it said, the Ocoee River. And then in big, bold, it said, Olympic course. I mean, I thought, I got the body of an Olympic athlete. Why would I not sign up for this, you know? Right? I went ahead and signed up for this thing. Didn't know much about it. I just knew it caught my eye, you know. And I'll never forget, I thought, I wonder if my wife wants to go with me on this adventure. Maybe I should ask her, you know. And then I thought, no, there's no need in asking her. I'll just go ahead and sign her up, you know. Man, let me give you some advice in the room. Don't do that, all right? Don't do that. I went ahead and signed her up, and I went home, and I was so proud about it, you know. And I came home, and I said, hey, Britt, I was going to let you know something. Next week, we're going whitewater rafting. You should have heard the silence on the other end of that. She said, I'm not going. I said, oh, yeah, you are. I signed us up. She said, you did what? Men in the room, don't sign your wives up for things, right? I said, I signed us up. And she said, have you ever been whitewater rafting before? And I said, no. She said, well, if you had, you wouldn't have signed us up. Have you ever been whitewater rafting before? Here's what I thought we were going to go do. I thought we were going to go down like to a creek or something. I was going to get on the inner tube, and I was going to float down it and drink a Capri Sun. That's what I thought we were doing, you know. I was wrong, right? And she said, yeah, I'm not going. I said, we got to go because I've signed up. Because if there's one thing I can't stand in church, it's a bunch of church people who will sign up for something or give their opinion about something and then don't show up for it when it's time to do the work. Boy, it got real quiet in here. I don't know if Pastor Nick's going to have me back or not. I can't stand somebody who signs up and doesn't show up. Because you know what I call those people? I call those people pretenders. And see, anybody can just show up to church on Sunday and a Wednesday or a life group or when they have food, you know. Anybody can show up for that. I'm talking about what are you doing all the other days? I didn't come here to beat you over the head. I came here to provoke your heart today to tell you you are made for more than just sitting down. There's work to be done. There's a part for you to play in this thing. We got to go. Here's what I call people who sign up and show up. I call those contenders. And that's what I love about the Serbians. They're workers. They're contending for this thing every day, right? I'll never forget the day of the trip comes and I get up and I put my slides on. I'm making a fashion statement, you know. My swim trunks, a T-shirt, you know, and I go and I get out in the truck and I'm waiting on my wife to come on out there, you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I wonder where she's at. Maybe I should honk the horn. You know, I'll go ahead and honk it. Bad idea, all right. I thought, she still didn't hear me, you know. Maybe I should honk it a second time. So I honked it a second time. Men in the room, don't do that, all right? I'm giving you some marriage advice today. And don't dry off with the decorative towels. That's a no-no, right? You know? So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting on her. Finally, she comes out and here's what happens. She sees me. She makes really, really strong eye contact, you know? And she never broke eye contact as she walked to the truck. She just looked at me, and she got in and sat down, and I said, are you ready to go? And she didn't say anything. I said, oh, you're ready, right? And we take out to the church, and we get into the parking lot of the church, and there it is, the church van, our form of transportation. Now, we didn't have no church van like Full Life's got, all right? We had a church van. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The church van, where dreams go to die. How many know what I'm talking about? Right, where the armrests are broke, and you got a French fry from 1987 that you can still eat in the floor. How many know what I'm talking about? The church van smells like death and feet. You know what I'm talking about. Ghost of youth trips past, That was our form of transportation. I get out to get on the van, and here's what Brittany said. She said, where's your bag at? I said, bag? What are you talking about? Your bag. Where's your bag at? I said, I don't have a bag. What are you talking about? She said, your bag of clothes. I said, what do you mean clothes? I've got clothes on. She said, you got a swimsuit on. I'm talking about your clothes for when you get wet. I said, I'm not going to get wet. She said, what are you talking about? I said, we're going rafting. We're not going swimming. I'm going to be inside the raft. She said, you're the biggest idiot I've ever met in my life. You've never been rafting before. She didn't say a word. We just got on the van. And here we go. We take out towards the Ocoee River, and we're on the way, and I'm drinking a Red Bull and a bag of Funyuns, and I'm enjoying myself on the trip, and we're about 30 or 40 minutes out, and I look out the window, and I see trees, but through the break of the trees, I see water going like this, and it caught my attention. And then all of a sudden I see it. I notice some rafts with nobody on it just thrown up onto the sides into the trees. And I think, oh, what is that? And then all of a sudden I see a raft coming over the crest of the water. And they're all holding the raft for dear life. And I announce to the van, hey, everybody, look at these idiots right here, Brittany said, what do you mean idiots? That's what we're going to do. I thought, oh, no, I don't want to go rafting no more. See, you signed up for ministry, but then when you show up and see what it's all about, you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can commit to that. I don't know if I can do this with my life. Some of you, you're at that place right now. We show up to the place, and I'm nervous about it, and we get to this gravel parking lot, and they give your group a group number. How many of you know what I'm talking about? You've been rafting before. They give us our group number. I'm standing there, and there's a guy that went with us, and he's standing there, and he's got on blue jean shorts. He's got on a brand new pair of tennis shoes with some socks. He's got a polo on, and it's unbuttoned all the way down with a necklace intertwined in his chest hairs. He was looking good, His name was Travis. I said, Travis, where's your swimsuit at? He said, I didn't bring one. I said, you didn't bring a swimsuit? He said, no. He said, we're going rafting. We're not going swimming. I said, that's what I said, Travis, He said, yeah, I don't even own a swimsuit. I said, why not? He said, I don't know how to swim. I said, Travis, you're going to die today. You're not going to make it. Hey, Brittany, I found the biggest idiot in the world. It's not me, it's Travis. Travis, what are you going to do, And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, this ain't going to be good. And then all of a sudden, I see a guide walk across the parking lot, and I said, who's that? And they said, well, that's one of the guides that's going to be on the raft with us, one of the captains. He looked like something out of the Bass Pro Shop, and he was strutting through there and had his water shoes on, and I promise you this is what happened. He saw me. I caught his eye, And he looked at me, and this is what he did. He leaned in. He began to smile. And I promise you, he began to lick his lips like, And he gave me that look like, oh, yeah, big boy, you're mine today. I thought, oh, no, I hope we don't get that guide. We did, because he called our number, right? And then we go and we do a tutorial on the raft. We go over to this little area, and there's a raft, and I said, Where's the rest of the raft? And they said, that's it. I said, oh no, not only is Travis going to die, I'm going to die too, you know. And this is how he starts the tutorial. He says, when you get thrown out of the raft. Not a, hey, how you doing? How's your mama? None of that. It was, when you get thrown out of the raft. I thought, this ain't going to be good. He said, when that happens, you get your body to the top of the water. You get your feet out in front of you so you can kick off the rocks that come your way. And we're going to practice that right now. That's how we're going to start the tutorial today. Everybody, get down on the ground on your backs. We get down, and he says, all right, now put your feet up in the air. And I saw my feet for the first time in a long time, you know. We began to kick off rocks. I felt like I was in a birthing class, you know. We're kicking them off, you know. And he says, all right, that's how you're going to kick them off, you know. And he says, get up. And he said, we're going to give you your part in the raft. Remember, you have a part to play in this thing. Yeah. He points to Travis. He said, you're going to get in the very front. I raised my hand. Travis don't know how to swim. He said, I don't have time to answer your questions right now. Travis, get to the front. I said, oh, so long, Travis. He gets everybody on there, and then he gives me my spot, and I get on the raft, and when I did, the raft began to lift up into the air. He said, we got to get the weight distribution a little bit better on this raft. I'm going to put you right here. I'm going to put you there, and he fans everybody else out, and he said, you stay right there. Do you understand me? It's vital for the rest of the raft if you stay in that spot. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He said, all right, get the raft. We get on the bus. We go to get our life preservers. We stop at the place to where you get them. And I go in there and I get it. I said, where's the plus-size life vest? They're back here. I go and I get it, and I got it to about right here in my armpits, and I couldn't get it no more. I said, this ain't going to fit. He said, that's all we got. I said, oh, no. Here's what happened. Two people took the life vest, and they began to stretch it out. Somebody put their foot right there, and I can see their toes, you know. They've got it right there, and they're stretching it, you know. And then all of a sudden, they get it clipped. And when they did, that thing shot up on me like a crop top. How many know what I'm talking about? Threw my arms in the air. I couldn't even put them down, you know. I thought, oh, no, this ain't going to work. And then they put the helmet on me, and the helmet was like the mouthwash cup you get at the dentist. It just little and just sat there. I thought, this just doesn't fit. This isn't going to work. And some of you signed up, or maybe you showed up and you got into this thing and you say, I don't know if this lifestyle really fits me the way it needs to. Yeah, wow. This ain't going to work. You know what the guy told me? He said, I do this every week. It'll work. Can I tell you something? If you apply this to your life, it works. And if you keep doing it, it'll work even better. I'll never forget that. We take out to the river, and we get there, and we see a guy in a kayak, and he said, before we push off, I'm going to let this guy in the kayak go, and he's by himself. He's a loner, you know. And he goes by himself down the river, and he hits the rough patch of water, and he goes over the edge, and I never see him again. And I think, this is it, Travis, this is it. This is how we go. And we start on this adventure of the river. And we get in the raft, and he says, all right, here we go. And we get in our spot, and we push off down this Ocoee River. I'll never forget this. We're going, and the water begins to chop a little bit more. Turns white water rafting. And he says, all right. See, he had given us some instructions. When he said a certain thing, you paddle to the left. When he said this, you paddle to the right. And then when he told you to duck, this is what he meant. You're going to put your paddle over your head and duck your body down into the raft as far as you could go. That's what he meant by that. I could not physically get my body down into the raft. And he yells, duck! And we did. Here we go. We go over the edge. And everybody ducked while I hung out of the raft like one of them fan advertising things you see on the side of the road. And I screamed out of my mind. And I found out what it was like to be flushed down a toilet in that moment, right? And I'm screaming out of control. And then all of a sudden, here's what happened. The rapid, we get through it and it pushes us out. And all of a sudden, I found out something. I'm alive. I made it. I came here to tell you today, you're alive. You've made it. I said, I'm alive. And I looked back at the guide and I said, I'm glad that's over with. And he said, over with? He said, wait till you see the next one. He said, it's a real doozy. I thought, oh, no. And here we go down the journey. And he's telling us to go to the left. I'm going to the right. He's telling us to go to the right. We're going to the left. He's telling us to duck, and nobody's hardly ducking. And you know what's happening? The raft is not getting down the river the way it needs to. The raft is getting kicked to the side. The raft is getting stuck on rocks. And the guide's having to get out of the raft, and he's having to push us off of the rocks. And in ministry, you hear people's stories, and they tell you things, and a lot of times there's problems, and when you hear the problems, you find out some things. And I'm not trying to beat you over the head tonight. I'm just trying to tell you something. That a lot of times the problems are there because they haven't applied the Word to their life. You can't reach your full potential. You can't reach your full destiny, your full purpose, because you're not doing your part. You're not doing your part because you're not following the instructions that He gives you in His Word. You can't get there without this. You can't get there without the Lord guiding you. We couldn't make it down that river without the guide. He said, guys, you got to listen to me. You're not listening to me. And we're struggling down the river. And the whole time I noticed something. I looked back there, and the guide, he wasn't looking at us. He had his eyes on the river ahead. He was scanning the water ahead as we get down it. When we get to another little rapid, he said, you remember that doozy I was telling you about? Here it is. Everybody, get ready. Duck. And we go down into this other rapid, and here's what happened this time. Everybody else ducked, and I flew out of the raft except my feet got stuck in the raft. So my whole upper body was under the water. And I'm trying to paint a picture for you this morning. I went under the water in full panic mode, and it was going blah, 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 blah. I opened my eyes, and my contact lenses went away, and I never saw them again. And my swimsuit had shot up on me like a bikini bottom. I was struggling. I was about to black out. I'm thinking, I'm going to die. I'm not going to make it. Where's Travis? And about the time I black out, here's what happened. I see two hands, and they plunge in the water, and they grab me by my crop top. And they pull me out, and it's the captain. And he's saying, you got to stay with me. You're going to die out here. You're not going to make it. And I'm sitting there and I think, maybe my wife will encourage me with her words. I look over and she's looking at me and she said, you were so embarrassing. And she looked down and she said, your thighs are so white. Fix yourself. He's telling you to go to the left, you're going to the right. He's telling you to go to the right, you're going to the left. He's telling you to duck, and I don't know what you're doing. She said, the raft can't even get down the river, and it's all your fault. Because you're not pulling your weight. You're not doing your part. I think, oh my gosh. And the guide leans down, and he said, she's right, Give me a few more minutes, I'll tie this thing together. I promise you I'm going somewhere with this. He said, big boy, I got to have you. This raft can't get from here to there. We can't get to the end of this thing unless you do your part. It's vital for the rest of the group. We can't see it the way we need to see it until you step up to do what I've asked you to do. You know what I did? I began to listen to the captain a little bit more. If he told me to go to the right, I did it. If he told me to go to the left, I did it. If he told me to duck, I tried my best to duck. I found out something amazing. That raft began to move a little bit quicker down that water. And that raft began to move down the river a little bit better. We were getting somewhere. And the whole time the captain's saying, good, keep it up. And he's not looking at us. Again, he's looking at the water ahead. He's scanning the water ahead. And we get down and we're moving good. And he leans down and he says, big boy, He said, there's a really big rough patch coming up. He said, I'm going to tell everybody to duck, but here's what I want you to do. I said, okay. He said, I want you to throw your body to the left as far as you can. Can you do that? I said, you want me to do what? How many of the Lord's ever told you something and you think you want me to do what? You want me to give what amount? You want me to show up and do what? You want me to do what? Can I tell you, I don't understand how the guide works, but I just know that he works. That you ain't got to understand how everything's going to turn out. All he's wanting you to do is just be obedient and do what he's asking you to do. He's going to take care of the rest. You want me to do what? I want you to throw your body to the left as far as you can throw it. Can you do that? I said, I guess, yeah. He goes, it'll be good for the whole raft if you do it. I said, all right. So we come up on the rapid. And he goes, all right, here we go. Get ready. And he says, duck, and he taps me on the shoulder. And when he did, here's what we did. We went over, and I threw my body to the left as far as I could throw it. And here's what happened. I threw myself completely out of the raft. Yeah. And here's what happened. I got sucked down underneath the water. And here's what happened. I began to hit rocks left and right. I'm telling you right now, I was in full-on panic mode. I was getting beat from every which way. And some of you come in here today and you've been beat up from life. You've been beat up from certain circumstances, some of it out of your control, some of it self-induced. I don't know where you're at on the spectrum today, but I'm just here to tell you that through this life, it's rough and rocky, and you're going to get beat up every now and then. That's just the way that it is. I'm getting hit left and right. And I think, I'm not going to make it. And some of you have been in these places where you think, I'm not going to make it. But here's what happened. All of a sudden, the words rang out in my ears. They rang out in my spirit. And here's what they were. I heard them. When you get thrown out of the raft. You know, he says in his word, there will be trouble. There will be trouble. When you get thrown out of the raft. Get your body to the top. Put your feet out in front of you. So that's what I did. I threw my body to the top, and I got my feet out in front of me, and he was right. I was able to kick off everything that came my way. How do you know something today? The Father, he's given you everything you need to knock down anything that comes your way. I began to kick it off. And I went through that for a little bit. Then all of a sudden it flushes me out into a smooth patch of water. And if I could get the band to come and play softly behind me. Kicks me out in a smooth patch of water. And I'm sitting there and I'm in the river and I'm looking around. And I think, man, I'm not going to make it. I don't see the raft anywhere in sight. I didn't see the raft anywhere. And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to get back. And I'm just treading water at this point. And all of a sudden, I turn around and I look, and I see down the river a little bit. I see a little helmet bobbing in the water. And so I make my way over to the helmet. When I got there, it was my sister-in-law, Sydney. Some of you know Sydney. They were on staff here for a little bit. She went on the trip with us, and she's sitting there, and she said, well, this is just great. You threw yourself out of the raft, and you threw, I think, everybody else out of the raft too. I said, where's Travis? She said, I don't know. I said, he died, didn't he? She said, probably. She said, I don't know what we're going to do. We're dead. I don't know about you. I went through moments in my life where I thought, man, I'm dead meat. I'm never going to be able to get out of this. I'm never going to be able to make it. We're sitting there dead in the water. And I'm looking, you know. And then all of a sudden I see it over the crest of the water behind me comes a raft. And that raft was full of a bunch of people I had never seen before, and I said, well, there's a raft. And I found out in that moment what the captain had been looking at. I found out there was a captain on that raft too. And here's what happened. I saw him, and I see the captain on the back. And he stands, and he's looking at the water ahead. And then all of a sudden it happened. He saw me. And when he saw me, this is what he said. He said, there they are. They're lost. Pick them up. God moves through his people. He was given the direction, but it was the people moving the raft. The raft began to move to us. On the Titanic where they say the women and children first? I threw that logic out the window. They were pulling Sydney in. I grabbed her by her life preserver and I threw her off. I said, I'm going home today. I'm a survivor. I don't know about you, all right? They pulled me in, and I turned around and I looked, and somebody was in my spot. I said, hey, you're going to have to get out of my spot. She said, oh, no, this is my spot. I said, oh, no, it's not. I said, trust me. The captain told me that's my spot, and this raft won't be able to get to the next stop unless I get in my spot. And she wouldn't move, so here's what I did. I moved her. And some of you got some things in your way, you got to move out of the way, or you'll never be able to get in your spot. You got to find your place. You got to get there, whatever it takes. I got my spot, I nestled in, and I said, all right, I want to go home. And the captain said, you hear him? And he gives his charge. And when he did, here's what I did. I echoed what the captain was saying. He said, get your paddle, go to the left. I said, you hear him? Go to the left. I began to echo. Some of you need to open your mouth and begin to echo what he's saying. You need to echo in your workplace. So you need to echo what he's saying in your home. You were made to echo the Father. When I began to echo, that raft got on the same page. We began to move down the water. Like poetry in motion. Man, I wonder what it's going to look like when everybody at Full Life buy into this thing and they say, I'm going to do my part. And you see this thing really begin to fly. You see this thing really begin to take off. Full Life, your best days are ahead of you. Because every day with him just keeps getting better and better. And all of a sudden we pull up to the end of this journey. And I look, and there's a hill at the finish, and we get there, and I get out of the raft, and I begin to walk up, and I see them. I see everybody from my original raft. They're standing there. And they're smiling. And in the middle, at the top of the hill, there he is, my captain. And he's going, you made it. You made it. I knew you would. I knew you'd get here. I knew that if you didn't give up, I knew that if you just did your part, if you just did what I asked, I knew you would make it. And I wonder today what heaven's going to look like when we pull up on the shore of it. And there he is, all of heaven celebrating. And there he is, the captain, Jesus. And he's saying, I knew you could. I knew you would make it. We're here. One, because he's allowed us to be here. And this church is here because there is lost bodies who need to be found. There is lost sons and daughters, and they're running today. They're running. But if we'll do our part, they'll be found. Would you stand across this room? I know I've talked for a good while today, but I had to paint a picture for you today to tell you, one, you're going to make it today. And the Father has not one time been disappointed in your life. I don't care what the journeys look like. All He wants to do is love you today. Come on, hands lifted across the place. If you got a prayer language and you want to let it out, can you just open up your mouth and begin to release heaven across the room? Yeah, we're praying for our nation. Yeah, we're praying for our church. But all we can do is do our part. His word says that if we'll keep going, we're going to make it. His word says that victory is ours. You're victorious today. Most of you in the room, I know you love the Lord. But if you're being honest, you're saying, you know what, I probably could do a little bit more, myself included today. Every time I preach this message, I get another conviction over my own life that, you know what, you can do more, you can give more, you can stretch yourself more, you can echo more. How many would be in agreement that you could do more? Come on, we could do more today. Can I tell you, not only can we do more, can I tell you that He has more for you? He's a good Father who loves you. He's a good Father who thought your life was worth the life of His Son. He's a good Father who has a purpose and a destiny for your life. Come on, if this is a declaration, if you want to do more, if that's you, can you step out from where you're at and make your way to this altar? Come on, don't be shy today. We're not worried about the ones around us. You get to do your part. You get to journey with the guide. As you make your way, I'll never forget, I walked up to the captain. He puts his arm around me, and he says, you made it. And I said, yeah, I got a question, though. You told me to throw my body out of the raft, and I did, and I threw myself and everybody else out. And he said, yeah, I do that from time to time. I said, why? He said, I just wanted you to taste the river. He said, if I allowed you to taste the river, I know you would always be looking for me on the raft. He allows you to go through things. He'll let you taste a little bit of what defeat feels like. And I believe it's so you'll know how sweet victory is when you find it. And victory is on its way today. Victory is ours today. Come on, lift your hands across this building. If you're at this altar, I want you to begin to open up your mouth, and I want you to begin to tell the Lord, Father, we're in this thing with you. We're not quitting. We're not just going to sign up. We're going to show up. We're not going to just pretend to go to church. We're going to contend for this thing every day of our lives. We're going to give when we need to, and we're going to give when we don't. We're going to love when it's hard. We're going to do the hard thing when it's the right thing. We're going to do what's right. We're going to know Him in every decision that we make. And some of you need to ask forgiveness, and that's you. Go ahead and ask it. And some of you, when you leave here today, you got an uphill battle facing you, but I believe today you're gonna make it to the top. You're in a place that seems hopeless, but the God, He's been looking and watching the whole time. He's making a way where there's no way. And some of you got unsaved loved ones. They're coming home today. They're going to find the Father today because you showed up. And some of you need a marriage restored. I don't know who that is in the room. You might need a marriage restored today. Or maybe your marriage has been on the rocks. Maybe it was your fault or maybe it was their fault. I don't know, but I'm just here to tell you today. He says, keep fighting. Keep showing up. I'm working it out. He's working it out today. He's working it out today. You feel like you lost. But he has a way of making up for lost time. He's going to give you back and then some and then some and then some. Maybe you're in the room today and you're facing financial crisis. And he said, just keep being a giver. I'm making a way. And some of you have been battling anxiety. If that's you in the room today, the healer is in the house and he's taking that off of you today. He's freeing you from that. You've been battling depression, some of you in here. You're at this time of life where you're trying to figure things out. And you're down and you're blue and he's taking that off of you today. He's freeing your mind today. Come on, can we just lift our hands? Come on, sing this out for a few minutes. Just as a declaration.
Jesus in the darkness over every enemy. And Jesus for my family. I